With me this morning is a real treat for me. Tony Butala is the founding member and the original member of the Letterman, but he's done so many other things in his life, and he's a very interesting character, besides the fact that he has a winery in California. Is that right, Tony? Oh, by the way, welcome, Tony.
Hey, Dick, it's always good to talk to you. We've done this a few times in the past, haven't we?
Yes, we have, and it's great to talk to you again, but I don't think we've ever focused on this part of your early career as a young man. When you were just a youngster, you were actually a voice in a Disney movie.
Yes, I was. In the early 50s, I went from Pennsylvania to California on a visit. I was very fortunate to be auditioned by Bob Mitchell and the Mitchell Boys Choir, and I made the audition. My mother had to go back on to Pennsylvania on the train, leaving her 11-year-old son in California, and I was doing so many voiceovers and so many jobs in motion pictures that within 2 years, my family moved from Pennsylvania to California.
That must have been a very interesting time in your life. In the 50s, you were virtually surrounded by the real heavyweights of show business.
Yeah, it was wonderful, Dick. Bob Mitchell and the Boys Choir, first of all, about Bob Mitchell, he started the Mitchell Boys Choir in 1932. He was such a good taskmaster. His choir boys learned to sight read music, and we had 4 hours of school a day and 4 hours of music a day, 6 days a week. So when Louis B. Mayer, or one of the producers of the television and radio and motion picture scene in those days, when they called the Mitchell Boys Choir, they knew the kids would come in, well rehearsed, because, you know, time is money in the motion picture industry, do their job and not climb the scenery and break things, and that's the reputation that Bob Mitchell had. When I got in the Boys Choir in the early 50s, we continued doing motion pictures, and one of the first movies I did was the voice of the Lost Boys in Walt Disney's Peter Pan.
And then what a legacy that is. You know, you were just talking before we went on the air about a 5-year-old grandson. I mean, how cool would it be to show Peter Pan to your grandchildren, or your children for that matter, and say, that's Grandpa there talking. My goodness.
Yeah, that happened, you know, to Corey, Corey's about 5 now, and I take it for granted. You know, my daughter, she's said to me, hey, Dad, weren't you in Peter Pan? It'd been so long since she'd heard it or seen it, because, you know, when you're in the business, those things are just another day in the office. Then he was really excited about hearing Grandpa's voice singing, we're following the leader, the leader, the leader, we're following the leader, T-dum, T-dum. So it's kind of a disconnect there. Here I am, my age now, watching Peter Pan with my 5-year-old grandson.
What a tremendous memory, and what a great accomplishment. And good grief, where would you find that kind of a musical upbringing today? I mean, you were really immersed in it, and the fact that you went on to be very successful in the music business, I guess, was pretty much a foregone conclusion with that kind of a background. One of the things I do want to ask you about, Tony, is your remembrances of White Christmas, because the Mitchell Boys Choir was on stage during the finale shot, the one we all recognize, Danny Kaye and Bing Crosby and Rosemary Clooney and all that beautiful setting, and the Mitchell Boys Choir is there. How was that for you? Was it pretty exciting, or just another day?
This one was pretty exciting because I don't know what they called it when it finally, it was before CinemaScope in that picture. It took us like 3 days to do that final scene. They wanted to get the vastness of it, but yet, you think about it, it was a small little auditorium, so they wanted to get the best shots. They had a couple little cameras on rolling train tracks, and they'd have to line them up, and they did this big slow fade and slow access across the stage. It was very meticulous as to what they were trying to accomplish with their perspective and the depth of feel. And so I remember we sat around for hours and hours and hours. You know, I think most of your listeners would know that when you do a motion picture, you don't sing the song live because it's too many cuts. So that we were in the big studio, big sound stage, and Warner Brothers, and we did the song. And by the way, in the song, it's just Bing Crosby, Rosemary Clooney, and Danny Kaye. There was a voiceover for Vera Ellen because she couldn't sing, and then the choir boys. The little actor kids, a couple of them in the front that come out, the little girl dancer. Those kids aren't even singing on the recording. They're just kind of mouthing to it as we did the various take after take after take. So that's the technical part. I think is the thing that I remember mostly. Of course, being so nice, Rosemary Clooney, she put me on her lap. We took a picture together. And years later, when the Letterman were performing, we had a couple of hit records, we did a benefit in Beverly Hills. And sure enough, Rosie was there. And I had that photo I brought with me for about 10 years earlier. And I said, you remember this one? And she said, Tony, don't you ever show that to anybody. I'm warning you to in a kidding gesture because it'll prove to them how old I am. So I said, okay, Rosie, I'll never show this to anybody that I was a little 11-year-old kid when you were in your 20s.
Oh, that's just fantastic. What great memories. And, that scene just kind of encapsulates the holidays for so many people. It's like emblazoned in our minds as the perfect picture of what the holidays is all about. It just really, it's so beautiful in that vivid color and cinemascope. What a wonderful memory to have, Tony.
And you know what? The culmination, that the motion picture itself, the interplay between Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye and Vera Ellen and Rosie McClooney, the whole movie came to a conclusion. Happiness, love, all the problems were worked out. Everything was nicey nice, and just you just said it. The culmination of what a holiday feeling could be. And I think that people look back on that motion picture and they transfer themselves into a wonderful scene because life nowadays is not that simple. And I think so. People go into that movie because it takes them away from pressures of life today.
I think you're right. I think people look at that scene and say, this is the way it should be at Christmas time. And and to be a part of that, that's just such a wonderful legacy. And I just think that's really cool.